Stacy Davis Gates took office as president of the Chicago Teachers Union in July of 1922, and she serves as a national leader in the labor movement. At this time, I would ask that everyone please welcome Stacy Davis Gates to the stage. Step on this side of the stage. Okay.
Jackie said there was a step on the other side of the stage, and I'm like, you know, I'm trying to still act like my knees have ligament. Getting older is something. I know I'm not old. And getting is something. Shout out to the perimenopausal women in here. Yeah, it is Women's History Month, isn't it? Yes, so I'm loosening you up because you don't bring me to the City Club to be nice. You bring me here to give those cameras something to show at 5. So I want to appreciate Chairwoman Robinson Ivy. Mr. Gibbons, who helped me take my mind off of this moment. Just a little bit, talking about the maniac who wants to be president again. Who knew we would be back in this space? Yeah, you do know I'm partisan. The club may not be, and yet they invited me. Listen, and shout out to the workers, everyone who makes this happen. And I am tickled to no end to be in a room that is sold out. Absolutely. Yeah. So humbled that people pay to hear me talk. You do know I'm a mother. And no one in that household pays me anything. They don't. They don't even listen anymore. So to have a room full of people who actually paid something to be here is quite the honor for the mother of one teenager, an almost teenager, and the third one who swears she is the teenager. So Women's History Month for the president of the Chicago Teachers Union is a big deal. We are a union of women. Almost 80% of our members are women. And 4 of our presidents are Black women. Name another organization, institution, or entity in this society that celebrates, that incubates, that supports, that promotes, and that votes for bold, intelligent, hardworking Black women to lead the union. Give me 5 of them. I am so humbled by that honor from Jackie Vaughn, who is the gold standard, right? She created the contract. And then the iconic Karen Lewis. It is Karen that made this stage possible for me. It is Karen, the first person I saw on this stage, tell people the truth in love and jest, but in power. So again, I am humbled, and I am always humbled by the fact that I get to. Do you know what it means to get to? Some of us don't get to. And the opportunity that I have in this moment is never missed on me. I am humbled by the sacrifice of Hazel and Laura, my maternal and paternal grandmothers who left both Arkansas and Mississippi for me. You understand, it's investment in what they didn't experience and did not know yet would manifest. It is that investment that gives me the voice that you hear every time I open my mouth. It is the courage I bring every time that I ask you to believe in the promise of equity and justice. It is that investment that gives me the temerity and the audacity to believe in one Chicago. Yes, yes. One. So I'm a teacher, and I need to remind people of that because some of y'all really think something of my position and title. I do not, because Black girls do not get to do that. We get to work hard, we get to take care of what we have, and we get to not make a mistake. That is humility. And it can be toxic too, though. Shout out to the colored girls who fight imposter syndrome every day. Y'all invited me. So I want to give perspective to the who I am and who comes before me and with me, because you can understand why we have a Pastor Turner over here. Shout out to the church. Or you have a Charles Smith here. Shout out to the business community. Or you could have Mr. Jim Franzik's brother here, who has inspired him to fight for public education. So I am happy to know you. See, this room is a room of people who are engaged in trying to figure out how to sustain and how to love the best city in this country. You are. We can have disagreements, but the only way we have to disagree, the only way we get to disagree, pardon me, is because we have an affection, an affinity, a love, a care for a thing. Think about it like that. Because that's what we are doing right now. We are practicing how to do this group project, not the one from 4 years ago, not the one from 8 years ago, not the one from 20 years ago. We're doing this group project, and some of us are very uncomfortable. Me. I'm talking about me. Y'all came to hear me. And we're uncomfortable because we have been acculturated in a particular type of fight in this city that someone has to lose if someone has to win. And there are a whole bunch of people in this room who are watching and who are looking for a soundbite, who are looking for me to say that someone in here is going to lose. Not today or tomorrow. See, when I shout out Pastor Turner, you have to know that I don't just get here through Hazel and Laura, but I get here through them and their abiding faith in salvation. And the salvation that I was weaned on tells me that we can all win. So let's try it. But I think we gotta talk about it a little bit, because as a teacher who every year would go into a classroom and want some type of transformation, I know that you have to state your objectives. I know you got to repeat your objectives. I know you have to write them on the walls. Shout out Jim Franzik. Y'all know he negotiates the contract for the Chicago Public Schools, right? But there is this practice that we have in identifying our purpose. So I want to identify the purpose of the Chicago Teachers Union, not just in the context of the city, but also in the context of our movement, because that is foreign to Chicago and the way that it is trying to be understood in this moment. So let me give you a shot. We're a whole bunch of people who have been told, no, don't, forget about it, stay over there, don't you even think about it, our entire lives. Period. Pooh. We've been told that. And so we kind of all get together, bring our trauma, our experiences, and we figure out how to make it better for someone else down the line. Yes. That word investment keeps coming back. Yes. That Hazel and Laura investment. And so this movement is full of people who have a lot of love and a lot of care and no time because they're busy surviving to figure out how to get a little bit of something so their grandchildren can get a lot of something. So that's who these people are. And then I have my members too. See, you thought I was just talking about my members. See, our union is one of the many. We don't just take dues and give you membership. We ask you for your heart and your commitment, and you get our membership. So even our members, the people who punch in, yeah, teachers punch in, and they mad about that, by the way. Did y'all see that proposal? They work with all of these children who come from all of these families in this city, and they feel and experience and fight and cry about these inequities every single day, right? Many of them leave work, depressed and discouraged, tired, exhausted from the contradiction from, you live in a city as beautiful and as great as this one, and you don't get to experience that in every single school. That's right. I was just talking to this table of librarians over here and saying that we don't have a library and a librarian in every single school. How do you have a school and you don't have a librarian? So these people fight. But they fight against the odds because I told you that they were women in this country, in this society. Women are supposed to still ask and beg, right? We are supposed to beg for an abortion. We are supposed to beg for a child through IVF. We are supposed to ask someone for a wage, right? Because you know what the headlines are going to say once, people who have a scientific calculator get done with it. They're going to say these are great proposals and can't nobody pay for it. And CTU with all of this, that, and the other. And who's going to pay for it, Stacy? Stop asking that question. Ask another question. Yeah. Because as long as we've been asking that question, we have privatized school systems. As long as we've been asking that question, what we've been doing? We've been closing those schools. As long as we've been asking that question, Black women have been getting fired from their schools because you can't work at somewhere that's closed, right? And so our union says, we deserve a little something because we live in this city too, and we work with your children, and what we are asking you for is what your kids need. Right? We want a smaller class size so we can spend more time dealing with them and the way in which they get to receive instruction. And everyone doesn't receive instruction in the same manner. That's right? They're going to ask for special education services that were wholly defunded. Talk about defunded. The police have not been defunded in Chicago, but special education has. So think about it like this. You got a whole bunch of women who are pissed off about being pissed off. And they have a union. They have families that they serve, communities that they're anchored in, churches that they attend. And they say that they want a different Chicago that gives its children the schools that they deserve. That's right. And then they elect bold leadership like Karen Lewis to help them do it. But this city, for as wonderful as it is, the systems are very, very stubborn. They're very, very stubborn. And these systems don't easily give. So this system, even in 2012, that heard Karen say school Chicago students deserve, in 2013, Rahm Emanuel said, I'm closing them. And he did 50 of them. So when you ask me why I don't know how to compromise or why I'm so strident, you watch Black women beg for their school to be open in the 21st century. It felt like a scene from Roots. I didn't say it was, I said it felt like. Language is important. And so when you feel that type of pain and trauma, and more importantly, powerlessness, it makes you sit back down and think about the why and the how, more importantly. So when people talk about CTU as a machine, I chuckle. I do. It's cute that we only have a few vocabulary words in certain places. Really, it is. Like, we really got to get back to reading the classics. As I look at Dan Montgomery, IFT president, but most importantly, English teacher, right? We have to get back to the classics, right? We have to give people an experience with text and vocabulary, but you need a librarian who can read to children after recess. So in lieu of using words that don't work anymore, we are going to join the transformation that this city is undergoing in this moment and say that we're not going to fight for the school Chicago students deserve anymore. We're going to give it to them. We responded to the closure of schools in 2013 with a defiant vision to win the one city that gives everyone what it needs. That's how we get here, right? We didn't do this because we wanted to be a machine. And tell me a machine with somebody like me at the top. Black people barely want to listen to me. Yeah, y'all can't laugh at that. You get me at the top of a movement that prioritizes a leadership that practices love, sacrifice, commitment, and resilience. So that's how you get CTU within this movement. And so for you all that came here to find out what the grand conspiracy is, why the CTU did it, it being Mayor Brandon Johnson. It was only because everyone else said no. They did. We went to Springfield and got our bargaining rights back. They still say no. We said an elected school board, they still playing games. So we have a mayor who is doing what he said he's gonna do. But listen to me. Workers in this city said that they needed two things. Well, a lot of things, but these two in particular. Paid time off. He said, bet. He did it. They said that we needed to abolish sub-minimum wage. He said, makes sense to him too, and he did it. Isn't it weird to work for, support someone who says that they're gonna do something and they actually do it? So it's different in Chicago. It's different. And you know what? I'm actually not worried about the moment we're in either. Probably because of who I am and what it takes for me to survive this world, but much more lead. This is a cultural transformation that the city is going through right now. Everyone should take a deep breath, for real. Because we are addicted to the J.R. Ewings and the Roy Logan, what's his name? Logan Roy. We're addicted to that motto, veneer, caricature of leadership. Because any real leader knows that leading a place like Chicago, with all of the compounding contradictions that it holds, requires something more than telling people what to do. It requires organizing. And so that's why we don't just rely on the fifth floor. We have a bargaining table. We have the streets of Chicago. We have a movement full of people who want treatment, not trauma. Who want to bring Chicago home. And will. Who want workers to have a fair wage, but important to this moment, they want the schools Chicago students deserve. And we're gonna get those schools and we won't get them tomorrow. That's the punchline, folks. Within the movement, outside the movement, naysayers, supporters, allies, and ops. The punchline is we're standing at the foot of the mountain. We ain't nowhere up. The city is light years behind in the justice and the equity that it owes its people. And even with the defiant vision, we are up against a government that has been cut, consolidated, compromised, and closed for generations. It is a government that has been exclusionary, so much so that you get two things that happen. You get people who say, I'm gonna do it myself, right? That's why Black people were drawn to two things. One, the privatization movement. The argument wasn't wrong, you all. Black children were being cheated of what they deserved in our public schools. And they still are, by the way. They still are. That didn't change yesterday. And so because they were not getting what they deserved, the privatization movement in cities, I'm gonna talk bad about the architects of it, but the intention of those who say yes to it are different than the architect's intention. You see how you can have a thing, but our conclusions are different? See, the conclusion of those who look like me, most importantly, they wanted relief. They wanted an opportunity. They wanted to have the thing that they were promised, even if they didn't get the 40 acres and the mule. They were going to try again. Public education in this city has been elusive, especially to its Black families. And so the privatization movement says we can do it. And guess what? Taxpayers for less, because I know y'all don't want to play for Black kids anyway. Y'all invited me. But name somewhere that has done that in the history of public education. Like, look, I am a history teacher. I keep telling you that. Prove me wrong. And so you proliferate these options, but you never do the thing to funding them the way that they should be funded. That's why when the charters went up for renewal by the Chicago Public Schools, it was such a big deal. Because there are very good people, Leandra Khan, CPS graduate, who believes in the promise of public education because she exists. And because she knew how hard it was to do in CPS, she chose a different route. But she knows, like I know, it ain't enough money there. They don't serve our students there either in the way that they're supposed to. So the work of our union has been to hold everyone who said that they were going to do it accountable. That's what a collective bargaining agreement does. So at Acero schools, y'all remember, he worked for Invest in Kids now, don't he? What's his name? Is he here? What? There you are. Hey, boo. But even he had, but see here, I can play, but the truth is more complicated than the tweet. And the truth is that Juan wanted brown children to have an opportunity in this country to be somebody. You did. But he also found out how difficult it is to do that. A collective bargaining agreement, though, has helped Acero establish a pipeline for its paraprofessionals to become classroom teachers through a collective bargaining agreement, Caroline. And at Instituto, where we just got off strike, a strike that we won, but that strike is not as significant of what it helped to do. The Chicago Public Schools could not make Instituto staff up for bilingual education. It couldn't. If you read every review that it has had in the last few years, it has been dinged on not being able to offer those services to its students. On top of that, special education was not being funded there either. The collective bargaining agreement enshrines that you will staff and fund special education and bilingual education. We're the safety net. That collective bargaining agreement guarantees that there is an opportunity, a process for the students that attend those schools to get what they deserve. Now, sometimes it takes an argument and a walk-off, but you get the thing that you deserve. And I've never seen people like us, Chicagoans, get what we deserve without fighting for it. Happy birthday, Chicago. So what I am saying here, and I hope you hear me, is that this collective bargaining process should not be feared, because Cameron Elementary School in Humboldt Park exists in part because that collective bargaining agreement gave it a coordinator that helps the students that come there that are unhoused. It has a bilingual education program there, right? It's a sustainable community school. And that sustainable community school is so sustainable that it is welcoming newcomers from Venezuela. And they've been able to do it because of the contract that we fought for and won. I could talk about Byler and Garfield Park. Matter of fact, I am going to talk about Byler and Garfield Park. Recording Secretary Crystal Williams was an organizer then. And that school in 2013 was on the list to be closed, 50 schools, remember? That was one of the 100 and some that was on the list. That school was saved. We bargained for it to become a sustainable community school. And now, that ain't the applause line. And now, with a community partner, Blocks Together, it ranks at the top of the city. Be clear when I am talking about the work that we are doing within our movement and at our union is transformative. The way in which our collective bargaining agreement is leveraged is for the common good, which means that it's gonna get a little hot in this city for the next few months because people are going to poke and prod and say that we are not who we say we are. They're gonna say, it's lazy, right? Brandon Johnson, mayor of Chicago, is gonna give CTU everything it's asking for. And I hope he does. Because that would mean that we have a librarian in every school. It will mean that we will have green facilities being built for children in this city. It would mean that the nearly 20,000 students, majority, 80% that are Black children who are without homes will have homes and support in their school communities. It will mean that we will begin this monumental task, this mountain of work. We can stand at the foot and begin to work our way up. I don't expect agreement and I don't expect good headlines. You always get it wrong. Influencers, talking heads. Remember, I was here the last time and I told y'all, what? So I'm telling you today that the children in Chicago are going to get what they deserve in this city. Because the Invest in Kids table is going to help me. The Inks table is going to help me. The business table is going to help me. The faith table is going to help me. The labor table is going to help me. The movement table is going to help me. Because we are all, y'all tepid in here. Where is my help? But I expect tepid, and let's talk about that a little as I wrap this up. Tepid should happen in this room and in this city. You know, Chicago is great because it doesn't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. It doesn't, right? If you are an organizer or if you're a lobbyist, you know that you have to create roll calls. Like when you're on the doors, you have to be able to evaluate your conversation on the door. So if I talk to someone, if I'm working on a campaign, I want ones and twos. I want everyone to like our campaign. But, you know, there are threes, people who want to hear more, have questions, and they'll tell you about it later. And then there are fours and fives who are like, whatever, right? And don't come back, right? I like threes because threes show discernment. Threes have good questions. Threes are engaged, and threes create leaders. Chicago is a 3, y'all. You are supposed to say that everything that this union tells you is ridiculous because you're a 3. We've tried this before. Jackie Vaughn, Karen Lewis, Ruth Love, Janice Jackson. We've all tried it before. So your skepticism is well placed. I get it. What are they doing? Giving working people an opportunity to have a stake in this city. I get that too. Because remember, city of broad shoulders means that we have to fight. You don't get broad shoulders sitting in the corner. So this skepticism is well earned in the city that uses Roosevelt Road as a marker for the 2 cities. The skepticism means something. People are having real experiences in the city that support being a 3. Chicago will make you earn it. And we intend to earn it. We intend to earn it with them. So we're going to invite you to participate in bargaining. We hope that the mayor says yes. And we hope Jim says he'll join us. We want to invite the city into the bargaining process. I want you to know why the evaluation system in Chicago is onerous. Because it has a disparity between white women and black women. And women who work in the hood and women who don't. There's a disparity there and it's onerous. I want you to know why we're going to challenge healthcare, because IVF costs a lot of money and sometimes you need more than 2 tries. We're going to talk about those things at the negotiating table. We're going to talk about special education and the justice of it. Right? There's a reason why Forrest Claypool under Rahm Emanuel defunded special education. Black children are there. Again, you invited me. We're going to talk about what it means to fully fund special education and narrow the number of black boys who are suspended or expelled or kicked out. And we want to do this out loud with y'all. I'm not going to do this in the back room in front. Everyone, in fact, there's no back room when everyone's invited to the front room. Right. My process, the process that they have elected me to do with 30,000 members in the Chicago Teachers Union, is to do it with them. We've had 100 meetings, over 1,000 proposals. Nearly 100 participants. Listen to that. It is a cultural transformation that invites that many experts to the table who are women. It is a cultural transformation to take the word of a woman of how to do a thing. You've tried to give your husband directions, even with the GPS. It's hard. It's a cultural transformation to listen to people who know stuff. But we're going to challenge that in this moment, and we get to get it right and we get to get it wrong. I'm taking all the pressure off of us, Chicago. I am. We're going to have some really good ideas come out of this process that help us move the public schools ahead. And we're going to have to come back to the table and tweak other ones that we didn't get so right. Because that's what happens when you are transforming stuff. That's what happens when you're doing a group project with people who want to and people who don't want to. Shout out to group projects. That's what we're doing together in here, Chicago, as a group project. We will disagree, but that's not a deal breaker. It's a disagreement. Take the pressure off yourself. In our movement, we get to fight about it. And we get to get over it and get about our work. We're going to teach ourselves how to do that as a city. In our movement, we get to try things that come from the people who have the most at stake. We're going to try that in our city. In our movement, we have Black people and white people and brown people and gay people and transgendered people and young people. And we get to all have a seat and listen to each other. And listen to this part too. You have rich people. Shout out to y'all. Y'all in here? You want companies to be comfortable relocating here. You want families to see Chicago as a destination. That's where we agree. You know, families that live on the south side of Chicago want what you want too. I want soccer on the south side of Chicago at a neighborhood school. I do. And that's not hypocritical. When it doesn't exist and I find it anyway, that's survival. I'm not apologizing for surviving in this city. And I am committed to making sure that other mothers in this city don't have to make that choice when their children play soccer on the south side of Chicago in the next 5 years. I can hold that contradiction. Can you hold that contradiction? We are called to something in this moment of transformation. We are called to be better. We are called to breathe deeper. We are called to be our sister, our brothers, our siblings' keeper. Our union and our movement are committed to that common good. We are asking you to join us in bargaining. We are asking you to give us an opportunity to tell our story. It will cost $50 billion and 3 cents. Where's the Civic Federation Committee? Where y'all at? Where y'all table? Yes, it will. And so what? That's audacity. That's Chicago. Thank you.
Sorry, I got your hair in the Oh, another standing ovation. Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. We love having you at the City Club for so many reasons. But one of them is that you always commit to answering all the tough questions. And this is a democracy, right?
None like my union.
So we don't do this often, but I'm going to call a vote. Can I have 5 more minutes? Yes, show of hands. Okay, maybe 6 or 7. Feel free. Is there a motion? So we won't waste any more time. I do want to get to some questions because you always answer them, right? And if you do have to leave, it'll be noon or it'll be 1 in just a couple of minutes. So feel free to sneak out. But we've got some great ones. Thank you for that. And I get to ask some of these questions on behalf of all of our members. So I'm going to start off with selective enrollment. From Emily Braun. There's a great deal of bright CPS students who will not test into selective enrollment high schools. What's the CTU doing to ensure investment in the neighborhood high schools that have been long ignored?
Thank you for the selective enrollment question, because I need y'all to read. I am a teacher for real, and this whole conversation, debate, false debate, bad faith argumentation on selective enrollment irritates me. And let me tell you why, because it doesn't exist as a real thing. There is no resolution that said that anyone on this planet is closing a selective enrollment school could plan. It doesn't say that. The resolution does not say that. Listen to me. It does not ___ say that. But see, you see how you can't hear in a transformative space. See, in Chicago, if a neighborhood school gets investment, which is literally what the resolution says, neighborhood school investment, then we believe Chicago, because we're threes, we've had an experience, this is all rational. We believe that someone else has to lose. So if you're prioritizing neighborhood school, then you gotta be taken away from selective enrollment, because that is our acculturation, our experience, our trauma in this city. So let me say this. Selective enrollment schools exist like Harvard exists, but NIU exists as well. Champaign exists. SIU exists. Columbia College exists. University of Chicago exists. Malcolm X exists. Shout out to bargaining. Whew. You can have both. You can have more. Now, for the experience that families are having with selective enrollment, it is draconian. It is not culturally sensitive. It is not sensitive to the psychology of young people that age, and it must be revisited. There is no way in this world you can tell me that it is a humane system that tells a 14-year-old girl or boy that they are not eligible. Don't do that to people's children. That is so mean. There's got to be a better way, and let's figure it out. Again, we're at the foot of the mountain.
All right, thank you, because that answered a couple of other questions, so I can take those off. The two different folks asked a similar question, Jim Stone and Trina Tyler. Thanks for these questions. Maintaining mental health is the key requirement for Chicago. I'm going to paraphrase into one. Mental health. It's a key requirement for Chicago school students. Funding for it is greatly inadequate. What can the CTU do to fill this gap? And I'm going to have a quick follow-up after that on mental health, as City Club has done a lot to elevate the conversation.
So one thing that has happened in this society is that we have robbed our public sector of all that it needs. Healthcare is one of those things. Everyone is not rich enough to go to the doctor. It's a fact. And then when the doctor's offices are closed, because we have to start understanding and grappling with mental health as an illness, as a health-related illness, not something else, okay? That's right. So when these places are closed that people need, they go without, but somehow they always make it to school. That's why in 19 it was about a social worker, because we needed that support. And that's baseline, you all. That's all we've ever been fighting for is baseline. That's what's pathetic about the fight. The fight isn't even aspirational. You mean I'm fighting for a social worker, a nurse, and a librarian? Stop for a minute. You mad at me for fighting for what should already be there? So that was 19. Now, can we get the ratios down? Can we have more than one social worker? Can we make sure that there's a librarian? Because we know that mental health challenges are everywhere from our young people. Social media is nasty, right? Children are able to express their identity a lot earlier than we have seen in the past. We don't have capacity for that in our teaching, in our teacher training. How do we help our spaces accommodate, welcome, keep safe everyone, right? All of these things are a part of the million proposals that are in that document that the press probably has already. But what I will say is that they come from a place of disparity, of need, and of expertise.
And my follow-up on that is a personal leadership question. How do you deal with your own mental health?
Oh, good.
As we dispel there's so many that we're finally elevating these conversations and talking about it. And we've been asking that question of every leader that's come through here. And I think it's an important one. How do you deal with all the ins and outs of every day, the media attention, the family? How do you deal with that yourself?
So look.
We do want you to come back.
I will. I am typically a very open, vulnerable, engager of people. And my family got hit hard this past fall. And it's hard for me to bring it up because I don't want people to talk about it again. Because I get to make choices. I get to give consent for myself. And so I consented to being the president of the Chicago Teachers Union. I did, Stacy, right? Look, the hypocrisy argument, is easy. I ain't dumb. There's contradictions in survival, you all. So now they're gonna say, how is she surviving? She makes $1 million a year. I live in Chatham, though. I don't make $1 million a year, right? I'm a first generation college graduate. That means I got cousins. My own mental health, Jesus first. No, seriously, my faith. My faith is, my stabilizing point. I go to the rock. But I'm also a fan of therapy. And at our union, our leaders have coaches. We have leadership coaches. Shout out to Jesse Sharkey. See my guy? We have coaches because we deal with everything you deal with in your workplace too. What society has ever said that it was okay to have a bold, unapologetic Black woman telling anybody what to do? No, I'm serious. And so it comes with a certain amount of dissonance in what you experience and how you experience. And that's been amplified over the last year, right? My battle cry for so long was to have the organization in which I work to hear me and see me as a strategist, as a leader. So you work for that. There's a certain amount of invisibility that always comes with Black women in the workplace and society. So you carry that burden. But baby, when they get to see you and hear you, they know how to see and hear you. The only problem with that is that my family is off limits. They are. They're off limits because they didn't consent to this. They didn't consent. And how dare you take a Black boy that you swear to God that y'all are invested in and make hell out of the first semester, the first quarter of his freshman year. Freshman on track, right, CPS? Y'all was dead wrong for that. And they didn't consent. So my mental health was challenged in that point because I couldn't punch anyone in the face. Shout out to that principal. Come on, before I get in trouble.
Don't take it out on me. No, get in trouble. This is a place to get in trouble. Come on.
We got you.
Just don't take it out on me, please. Just the questioner. Okay, we've got another one. We'll change topics real quick. David Greasing from the BGA is here, and this one's on elected school board, which many of us have read in the news lately. So originally, we believe, and if the intention was to represent the community, originally it was a phased-in approach. Now it's fully appointed. If the intention was to represent the community, then why the change? Or please clarify if that was misstated.
So I'm a teacher, and that's a poorly constructed question because you've already fronted your conclusion. And I have to say that because I am a teacher, and you have to come at it better. Curiosity is, what do you think is happening with the bill, and wasn't it already passed? Like, that doesn't come from a place. That's a question of what's going on. But it's Chicago, right? We're 3. We're skeptical. Someone's got to be giving us the business and trying to put the banana in our tailpipe. Like, so it's reasonable to get that question. So yes, and you see how we can do both? So I've been told explicitly by the people who do our political work that I should not say anything about the elected school board bill until it's passed. So I'll talk to you after it's passed again.
We had the entire Illinois Supreme Court here a week ago, which was kind of neat, and I heard a lot of that too. Now, not commenting on current cases, so we'll let you off a little bit on that one. Thank you. You mentioned that Leandra Khan is a CPS grad. She has a question here for you, and I'm just reading it here. In your interview with Ben Jaworski in January 24, you spoke about the bullying tactics of the MAGA party. I'm wondering how you see the behavior of CTU during strikes and contract negotiations as any different.
You coming with it.
I told you I would.
And thank you for that, because there are people who believe that. Our conclusions are different. I'll start there. MAGA wants me on a plantation. They do. They have made it very clear. Remember, erasing books, history books in particular, and telling us that Black people got on a cruise ship on the west side of Africa and traveled across the Atlantic to learn artisanal skills on a large farm. That's what DeSantis said that we are to believe, right? That's their conclusion. That's not mine. Governor Abbott's conclusion is, let's send real people on buses to show those liberals something, right? And then he gets all of his friends to send the National Guard down to the border. It feels like Confederate behavior. We ain't the same. Don't ever do that. My members live in this city, next door to many of you. They educate your children. They love on your children. They advocate for your children. They've worked very hard to meet the needs of the children in their school communities and in this city. That's what they do. And it's hard for them because people don't prioritize their expertise. They don't respect their perspective. And they try to marginalize the agency they have in the places in which they should have the most agency. And so it pisses them off. It frustrates them. It makes them organize and yell loudly. And as a result of that, our young people get things. Our school communities get things. The aggression comes from survival. If we get to live a little, we get to live a little.
All right. First of all, will you come back? We have a whole lot of questions that you haven't answered or that we haven't even asked. So we'd like to do that. I would like to end with a little caveat that Graham Grady asked about who has been a key mentor in your life and why. And the caveat is that last time you were here, you talked an awful lot about Karen Lewis, who I think a lot of people in this room know and have so much respect for all that she did for the city. And you also mentioned Jackie. So I'd like to take those two off of the table and see if you can rack your brain for another mentor, why, and a little bit about what they've taught you.
That's hard. First, I want to acknowledge Supreme Court Justice Joy Cunningham. Dude, when I tell you I'm having out-of-body experiences, a Supreme Court Justice is in this room listening to me. When I tell you God is faithful to her word, God, it is amazing. I'm so proud and honored to have you here. Thank you for being here. I work on a team at the Chicago Teachers Union, so it is very hard for me to count one person, right? So right now, Zedra Foster, who is running our grievance department, is quickly becoming a fan favorite.
Have her come and speak.
I know, right? But no, Zedra and I worked at Englewood together when Arnie Duncan closed our school, along with Jackson Potter, the vice president of the Chicago Teachers Union. And right now, their leadership in our union is really inspiring. They are partnering on the details of how we get this done. It is something to have the aspirations of the Chicago Teachers Union in our movement. It is. It's a lot of stuff in that document. Shout out to the IPI intern right now. Hate it to be you. Y'all know that was funny. No, seriously, we got to put together a process. It's one thing to say that you want to transform the Chicago public schools. It's quite another to set up the process and the infrastructure to do so. We have a stubborn bureaucracy that does not know how to say yes. Brendan Johnson is not going to force every bureaucrat in CPS to like the CTU. It don't happen that way. People have ideology, people have pride, people have experience and practice. It is just like the place where you work. And this is going to be a struggle because the culture in Chicago with the public schools and the teachers union is a culture of no and make me and okay. That's different from what we are embarking on this time. We're saying, how might we? That's a different question. How might we turn this district into a sustainable community school? How might we put in our schools restorative justice workers instead of police officers? How might we? Now, that's not going to be easy because people aren't telling you a lie when they say that our schools are the intersection of everything good and bad in the city. And we are acculturated to call the police on children in this city. You know, y'all call them mobs and stuff when they downtown. So that's not going to be fixed just because the mayor of Chicago said no SROs. That's going to take work. That's going to take a redirection of resources. That's going to take patience and practice, reflection and revision. Sequence. This is not going to be easy, and yet here we are. So I'm inspired by their commitment to creating the process under which we embark on this part of the transformation in the collective bargaining process.
All right, well, we will end on that. With so much more to come, we will be certain to invite you back. Thank you for being here. Thank you for how might we. I think this room is full of people who want to make things better. We may not all disagree. This was a great example of filling a room with the right people who can have different opinions and try to make things a little bit better in Chicago. So thank you for sharing your thoughts, your answers to our tough questions, and for your commitment to teachers and, of course, the city of Chicago. Stacy Davis Gates, everybody, thank you.